Ian Eagle back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Ian?
Rich, I just want to let you know, for the holidays, I have made a donation in your name to the Human Fund. So I just want to get that out in the open now, so there's no issues later when you get the notice.
I appreciate that.
It came from me.
I appreciate that. You know, I do have my own bathroom here. Here at the Rich Eisen Show.
My favorite part is when Kruger just says, "How about George?"
How about George?
This is fantastic. So happy Festivus to you, Ian.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be on with you. It's almost like perfect timing, right around Festivus for you and I to reunite like this.
Yes, it is.
It's destiny.
It is, and we're all about the feats of strength, you and I. That's why we got in the business that we did.
You're right, as usual.
What a week that you've got with the Eagles hosting the Skins and then the Jets hosting the Patriots. Let's start with the first one with Washington and Philadelphia. What are you looking forward out of that one, Ian?
I like that. I like that.
You do you? Fantastic.
I do like it. You know, it's funny. I had week one, Washington, Miami, and at that point, all of the controversy was swirling and the RG3 stuff, and Kirk Cousins, is really the guy to take over? Can he lead Washington? Just irrelevance. Forget about getting credibility. The question was whether they could actually be relevant this year. We sat down with Cousins. I'm not sure you're going to meet a nicer guy. You root for him because he is completely on board and immersed in it, but the question still persisted whether or not he could do it at this level. He's been fantastic, and it's been one of the great stories in the NFL this season. With all of that said, they need to go out and win, and Philadelphia still has an opportunity. The NFC East is still up for grabs, and amidst all of the Eagles' troubles, if they get a win on Saturday night, they set themselves up for a playoff spot, and all of the intrigue that's come with Chip Kelly will flow into the postseason. So I think either way, whichever team makes the playoffs, I know the Giants are on the periphery, Rich, but whichever team makes the playoffs, there will be a narrative that attaches to it once the postseason begins.
I think out of all the Chip Kelly off-season storylines and maneuvers that he made in his first season as the grocery shopper in Philadelphia, Ian, the one that I did not see coming. Now, we all just assumed, well, Bradford may or may not work. The Kiko Alonso trade, that was something that raised a few eyebrows. Letting Macklin go was another one. And we all thought, like, those things may or may not work out. One thing that we thought for sure, let's put it this way, I didn't see it coming, is that when you would be going in this game, Week 16, DeMarco Murray would be rendered essentially useless and practically Keyshawned every week, deactivated. I could not, this one shocks me.
Yeah, I went over my notes because I had Philadelphia on the radio against Atlanta very early in the season, and I just like to look back on some of the storylines for that
was the
game.
opener, right? That was the opener.
It was the opener. And I have so much written on my boards about DeMarco Murray and the season he had in 2014 and the money that he signed for and the anticipation in Philadelphia for him to take over. And it's all moot, like all of it. None of it works for Week 16, and that just shows you how far he has fallen. And I'm not saying his skills have fallen. It just is not a good fit. And you could tell pretty early it wasn't a good fit, although I think there were still some moments where you thought, okay, maybe they can resuscitate it. Maybe it's not irreparable. And then somewhere around Week 10, Week 11, everybody that watches the Eagles and pays attention said, no, it just doesn't work.
But, I mean, I don't know if this is the proper analogy here, but clearly Chip Kelly's upset that he said something to the owner on the airplane. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. But let me ask you this, Ian. If you were, say, after what you've done in your career, and you went you were sitting next to Sean McManus on an airplane, and you were now on the 5th or 6th game on CBS on Sunday, wouldn't you say to him, hey, what's going on with my broadcasting status, Sean? Wouldn't you say something like that, Ian?
First of all, have you heard something, Rich?
Absolutely not. You're on some marquee games, sir. You're calling marquee games.
No,
Ian.
everything you said is correct. Just from a personal standpoint, if you have an opportunity to talk with the person at the top of the food chain, and you do it in a way that is not circumventing or undercutting your immediate boss, and I'm assuming that's how it went down,
Right.
then you do it. You're 100% right. Is there a cause and effect? Has it been directly connected to that? Not publicly, but privately, I think your speculation is probably spot on.
Ian Eagle joining me here from CBS Sports. Now let's talk Jets, Patriots. You are from Queens, sir. You were a ball boy at Flushing Meadow, for crying out loud, when the U.S. Open was being played on grass. So
That's right.
you know the Jets' DNA inside and out. Now here come the Patriots again with a new coach, Todd Bowles. I mean, this is more than just needing a win for playoffs. This is franchise building material. Am I putting too much on that, do you think, Ian?
No, you're not overselling it. There's a lot attached to this for the Jets, not only because of where they are currently in the standings and what has to happen for them to make the playoffs. They need to win, and they need help. It's that simple. 2 wins does not guarantee them a playoff spot, so even taking care of their own business isn't going to put them in the tournament. But you add the New England part to the equation, and the fact that they've dominated the division, 7 consecutive division titles, the fact that they do it in a manner that you can't match. Nobody can match around the league, and the Jets have had to watch it twice a year, every year over the course of this run. The fact that it's been Belichick and Brady, the same 2 guys, as the faces and the names have changed behind the scenes, coaches, quarterbacks, skill position players, those 2 guys are still there. And the fact that the Jets have changed their culture dramatically. Rex Ryan and Todd Bowles, I'm not sure you could find polar opposites. So with all of that as the backdrop, I think the Jets believe that it's their time. They played them very well in the first meeting. Dan Fouts and I called that game. It was a Brandon Marshall attempted catch in the end zone away from maybe pulling off an upset, and that would have handed New England its first loss of the season. Didn't happen. But I think the Jets are better than they were. They look in the mirror and believe that they're a team that can now compete with New England. And the Pats are banged up. There's no doubt about it. The Amendola injury last week, the Chung injury, the fact that Chandler was out last week, the running back committee. Look, nobody knew who Joey Josefa was for this game.
That's just typical Patriot stuff. What is it like, Ian, sitting in a pre-game meeting with Dan Fouts talking to Tom Brady? What is that like?
Fantastic. That's been one of the best meetings that I've been a part of, because Dan is the type of guy. First of all, he's the Hall of Famer. You've got the gold jacket. You've got the bust. You've got the whole 9 yards. So you can ask things that other guys just can't ask and follow up in ways that other guys can't follow up with Brady. And then they got a little California thing going. Both are from that same general vicinity. And, Dan just looks at things differently. He's just got a different take on things, which often will produce a unique and sometimes obscure answer. And that's what we're all looking for in this business. So you nailed that one, Rich. That's a really good dynamic between those 2.
Yeah, that's a fly-on-the-wall stuff where that's why we do what we do with a microphone for a living. That's great stuff. And you called with Fouts the Broncos-Raiders game. I'm going to Oakland tomorrow. We have quite all over our rundown talking about Khalil Mack and his Defensive Player of the Year candidacy. You saw 5 sacks from one single human being who you did not call human, which was a great call. What was that like from your perspective?
Yeah, those are the kind of moments that you sit back and say, okay, this he's a different level. He might be a different species. He is so impressive on the field, and I don't know how many times you've had a chance to talk with him. Really was impressed with him behind the scenes as well. Just has the right attitude, right demeanor. I think things are changing in Oakland, and Jack Del Rio has been a big part of it. Reggie McKenzie has been a big part of it. And let's face it, Derek Carr has been a big part of it. His presence on offense and the fact that guys follow him, he's willing to take some chances, which I think if you're a Raider fan, you're okay with. It's part of the learning curve and learning process. He's had big wins. He's had some down moments. But the trend is upwards for Oakland, and that's the first time we've said that in a long time, probably since my former partner Rich Gannon was leading that team, and that's saying a lot. That's a long time ago. I think you're walking into some really good storylines, and I know this game is being looked at as, all right, well, San Diego's playing out the string, and Oakland's still trying to figure out exactly who they are. I think there's more to it. I think the Raiders are taking a big jump this year, and they'll be one of those teams you circle for next year that could really take that next step.
Yeah, and it could be the last game for the Raiders in Oakland in the same way that we both saw maybe the last game for the Rams in St. Louis. And I don't know if you want to talk for Dan, but, I mean, is he at all mentioning about the Chargers situation, wistfully discussing it at all?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. I think he, like everybody else, is curious to see how all of it will play out. I'm sure you felt the same way as I did in St. Louis. It was just odd. The whole scene was odd, and I feel badly for those fans. I'm not sure exactly chicken or the egg theory, if the city, could have done something earlier to try to at least show goodwill from ownership standpoint, or if this was the goal all along from ownership and it didn't matter what St. Louis did. They're trying now, and they're doing everything in their power to come up with the money, and I don't know if you saw the renderings of the stadium.
Oh, yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, no doubt.
If it happens, it would be wonderful. I don't know if it's going to get to that point, and there's a lot of derision right now behind the scenes between owners and a lot of questions as to who deserves the spot in L.A. They're looking at it as almost the golden ticket, and there are owners that don't necessarily believe that the ownership group in St. Louis deserves the spot and deserves the opportunity, and there are owners that believe that the ownership in St. Louis is the best group in order to make L.A. work and make it a successful business. So there's a lot of give and take still left in this process.
It's all up in the air. Ian, thanks so much. Enjoy calling Nets Mavericks tonight before this weekend's football. Appreciate it.
Rich, it's the return of Darren Williams. We could do a whole another segment on that another time.
Well, I always set my audio DVR for Full Court Press with you and Kenny Smith on Sirius every week, so I'll stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Mr. Eisen. I wish you the best. Your crew as well.
Thank you.
Great holiday.
Thanks,
you guys are
Ian.
doing great work.
Thank you. Same to you. Happy Festivus to Ian Eagle, who's giving his money to the Human Fund. If he was playing in the Friends of Rich Celebrity League, that would be his charity.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.